welcome back to Switch to Linux and another outdoor philosophy. This is a live stream. We're going to finish up our Lucifer Principle book here today. Good. I'm so sick of reading this book. It's a fascinating read. I'd encourage you to pick up a copy, read it, listen to my analysis both on this channel and on the other channel, and make up your own mind and thoughts about it. But you can pick this up. There should be a link to it in the description down below on Amazon. So the final chapter, we're going to do the final chapter and then the epilogue for the book. And really there's not a ton here for this perspective. I'll probably address a lot more issues in the Christian channel wrap-up, which will probably be in a couple of days when I get to that. I'll go ahead and card things if I get the chance after that's done. But this section here, the final concluding chapter, is called The Rise and the Fall of the American Empire. Of course, this is a person who is from America. He has done a lot of things in the American culture, American whatever. And what this final chapter concluding is about is kind of like the rise and the fall of empires. And as we have empires rising and falling and rising and falling, the culmination of the book has been brought to this point where America many times has rested on its laurels, so to say, meaning that we don't care anymore. We think we're on top and we're going to stay on top. And what this book is saying is that no, we are being and have probably already been dethroned. And he uses a lot of examples like our technology. Oftentimes, you know, things are invented or created here in America, but really it's the overseas that gets a lot of the profits. And I think it's, the book does have a lot of false analogies going throughout, and that was made more prevalent here. It's like true in our current world. Now, of course, iPhones didn't exist when this was done, but, you know, iPhones are built in China, but the profits still do come to the United States for the most part. But that being said, he talks about the fact that a lot of great American inventions are starting here, but we never really acted on it as American companies, and instead we have pushed a lot of that stuff over into other regions. So ends up that the Chinese, the Japanese, Taiwanese, they end up making a whole lot more money on a lot of the things that we've discovered than we do. And that's kind of what this is about, is learning the lessons from civilizations that rose and fall. They talked in here about the creation of the chemical industry, starting with synthetic dyes and synthetic flavors and things like that, and how those were created in England, but England never saw the beauty of that. They cast that off as waste. The Germans picked all that up and created an entire industry about it. And so they're talking about a lot of things like that. So, and across the whole thing, they talk about, General Electric, Tesla, not the Tesla company we have now, but Tesla as in the man who did some pioneering work. They had another section on scapegoats and sexual hysteria. We've addressed a lot of that earlier, not as relevant here, but pretty much his take-home message here is when things start to slip, we look for things to blame. And that's one of the things that he talks about here. I want to address that chapter more on the Christian channel. And then, of course, laboratory rats and the oil crisis. So there's just each chapter at this point. Well, the beginning of the book was a whole lot more engaging. The end of the book is a lot of the same arguments over and over. And every chapter is now reduced to the same argument, just a different example. And that's kind of where the beginning of the book, it was great. It was fueled with a lot of thought. The end of it just became boring and monotonous. The same stuff over and over. Same arguments, it's just different examples. The examples were pulled out as chapters rather than different concepts. Because they're talking about, about some of the early things leading into World War II, stuff like that. How the pecking order reshapes the mind. This was a different chapter in that they kind of said that those of us that are beat down, when we're beat down as individuals in a society, we tend to, stress hormones tend to go up. We tend to become more submissive. And that is certainly a take-home principle that was unique to the end of this, that is a great take-home principle, that if you feel defeated, you probably are already defeated. And if you can stand up and say, sure, like I do a lot about data collection on this channel, where I talk a whole lot about you know, and I'm taking a strong stance against the Ubuntu data collection. I'm taking a strong stance against about the Google data collection. Not to say we need to completely cast all these things out. Just use them with an understanding of the way that the knowledge can be used and how it should be working. And that's kind of the take-home message. It's not that we expel these things completely from our life, but we limit the things that we are going to and need to be able to do. And that is one of the things here. And that relates to this section here, because what they wanted to talk about is the people who are beat down. If you feel beat down, you're beat down. And if you feel like you're being pressed into submission, and in reality, a lot of what's going on in America right now is very much this. We are forced to buy health insurance things most of us cannot even afford. We are forced to buy internet from unscrupulous, monopolistic ISPs, and we have no choice in the matter because we live in an internet age. We need to have an internet connection, and we have zero choice, most of us, in this country here in America. And there's a lot of this kind of stuff that we are forced to do, and we literally have very limited funds, but a whole lot of things that we have to engage in society. And at some point in time, there's got to be a breaking point. And that's one of the things he talks about here, that when we feel that kicked down, when we feel that beaten down, when we feel that defeated, that is when stress rises. It's not being kicked down and defeated, it's when you feel that way. And that's the distinction you need to make. So learn to take control of even the things that, you know, if you have to have some type of cloud system to integrate all your family stuff, learn how to do Nextcloud so you're not defeated into having to take Google stuff. There's options out there. Learn the options and utilize them. Because the more you give in, the more you are already defeated. And you don't want to be defeated. Defeat causes the drop, the rise in the stress hormones. Your glucose steroids that will cause all of the things. So it's like the thing that actually kills you in stress. It's the various type of proteins that go in your body when you're under stress. That's really the danger. And so that's what this section is about. Then they talk about the perpetual shutdown in the future America, which is just, again, going back to a Chinese illustration that we need to take control, not think that we're going to always be on top. Remember, it's what I said before. It was the barbarians that nobody cared. They were like, oh, they're just the barbarians. We'll deal with them if they come, and they end up winning every time. Okay, got to be careful. And then, of course, they re-illustrate another one of the old factors from before. And that's kind of problematic. Like, it's the toad again, the toad in the desert. Then they talk about how we as people, it's starting to rain, so I'm going to cover my phone a little bit. What we do is we kind of talk about if we are really busy, we can get a whole lot more done. But when we're not busy at all, we only have 2 or 3 tasks, we have a hard time getting those 2 or 3 tasks done. That's kind of the way it goes. So I think what we're going to do, because of the rain, we're going to wrap this video up here. It's a fascinating read of a book. It did get a little monotonous near the end, but I'd encourage you to have a look at it, read it yourself. Tell me what you think. So that being said, thanks for watching. You can pick up a cool shirt like this at shop.switchtolinux.com. Check me out on Patreon, patreon.com/TomM. And you can find out all the other ways you can help support us at switchtolinux.com/support. So thanks for watching. I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.